a dependency, as crazy as it sounds, because alcohol is technically toxic and poisonous for the liver, but it has developed a dependency on it because the liver is so run down at this point. So they actually can't go completely cold turkey if they're in an extreme situation. They have to have a certain type of detoxification protocol that's carried out over a certain amount of time to fully wean them off chemically. But I think the mentality of that question is important, because a lot of times when we do the moderation thing, it's because we haven't made a full decision that we're actually going to quit this thing. We're going to let it go. We're ready to release it. In the back of our mind, there's a part of us that doesn't want to stop. It doesn't want to stop the cigarettes or the tobacco or the hape or the, God, take your pick, the social media, the like everything, right? So sometimes we tell ourselves that we want to quit, but not all the parts and pieces of ourselves are fully on board with that decision, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And how does someone get those parts and pieces fully on board? What is the thing?
That's it's a really good question. I don't know the answer for every single person, but what I can say is it's a commitment. Like somebody has to truly be committed to their own transformation and their own growth and healing. And it's just like, you and I know each other from the holistic health and alternative, healing and nutrition community over the last 12, 15 years. And we've seen like the whole evolution of the health and nutrition world. And we've been around so many different people in that world. And it's no different than being in the addiction world from the perspective that like, the way that I approach a health condition, like healing a health condition, is almost identical to the way I would approach somebody recovering from an addiction, which is that I go beyond the thing, like the addiction or the health, like the cancer, the diabetes, the candida is a symptom. So the addiction is a symptom. It's not the real problem. And so I have to see if I'm working with someone, I have to see, is this person actually ready to transform their life? Because the only way that they're going to heal this quote unquote condition is that they have to go beyond it. They have to want to grow and transform so fully that they've actually forgotten about being addicted.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
They have to become somebody that's not addicted anymore. So they have to go beyond trying to recover from an addiction or a disease or physical malady. They have to psychologically and emotionally become a version of themselves that doesn't do the things that the addicted version of them did.
Right. Yeah, that's so they basically have to become a different person. Is that the case?
Yes. Yeah, that's they have to upgrade their self-identity, which ultimately usually looks like self-love.
Right.
It's not even just like self-discipline or self-motivation. And that's a whole other topic. It's actually going deeper into the heart of the matter, which is that they need to love themselves enough to heal themselves. That's what Dr. Gabriel Cousens used to tell me back in the day, is that the biggest problem with people healing is that they don't love themselves enough. And somebody's not going to heal until they're truly ready to love themselves enough and to stop doing the things that are harming them. And I think that's really the journey. When you ask, like, what does somebody need to do? There's a lot of things people can do. There's all kinds of biohacking and nutrition and supplementation and healing modalities and 1,000 different things we have both seen in the industry. And I've only seen a handful of people truly transform, if I'm going to be honest, like truly become a completely different version of themselves and really embody like a version of themselves that's fully healed, fully whole, fully complete, fully integrated within themselves. And I'm putting myself in that category too. I'm still a work in progress fully. Like I'm still working working on myself and
We
working
all are.
of myself. Totally. Like I wrote this book for me as much as I wrote it for other people as well.
Right.
And but I found for me the journey really is back into the heart, back into our soul, and really looking in the mirror to discern, like, what is it about myself that either I don't love or I have a hard time loving, or I was never taught and guided how to love. And then how can I connect with those parts of me that feel unworthy or feel wounded or, just don't feel good enough for whatever reason. And then what does self-love look like for me? I think if somebody can start to explore those questions, it'll liberate a lot of the shame and the guilt that people feel with addiction. And I think emotionally, that's the most toxic part of it all, is the guilt and shame that we feel that we don't know how to correct. We don't know how to liberate ourselves from that. So we end up repeating the same patterns that create the shame and guilt. And shame and guilt is like in its positive sense, it's like part of your moral compass. It's like your internal moral compass trying to tell you, hey, this is not correct. This is not good for you. This is not good for your partner. This is not good for your family. This is not in alignment. That's why I feel bad about it.
Right.
But people tend to like skip over that. And then they keep doing the thing, then they feel worse. And now because they feel worse and they don't want to feel at all, they go and medicate the feelings. And the whole time, the whole thing is just a lack of feeling. Like people don't want to feel their feelings. And I, as crazy as it sounds, somebody can spend 10 or 20 years medicating themselves simply because they can't spend 5 minutes to feel their feelings.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people who are very sensitive, and they find that the world is a very harsh place, and so they don't know how to deal with that. We're not really taught how to deal with those kind of things as we grow up. Yeah. We're just kind of thrown mathematics, geometry, history, this, that, right? But never anything about how we ultimately handle feelings and meditations and things like that get us into alpha and whatever, or into our heart, like we don't learn any of that. So unless someone is blessed enough to have parents to guide them in that direction, or friends who kind of drag them into that direction, like how do people access that part of themselves?
Actually, practically, we all have to learn how to regulate our nervous system. Anything that you have an allergic reaction to, and that's why a lot of these plants that people get addicted to, like tobacco or coffee, can set off a histamine reaction and cause their immune system to get over agitated. And then they can have like an autoimmune type of reaction without knowing it. And that the thing they're addicted to is also the thing that they're allergic to.
Right.
That's a crazy thing.
That's interesting. There. Yeah. That's not really talked about very much, is it?